I do not feel that the community is in the place that it needs to be to kind of replicate and reflect and just project back out the McPherson report, his legacy of what it's done in terms of careers and community and stuff around change. So I guess for me, I wanted to ask you who is Stephen?
I always say that Stephen is an extrovert. He gives this air that is, which he is confident in himself. He knows who he is. He's not somebody who you always have to be saying you must do this or you must do that. He already has sussed out what it is. And we've always said from the age of 7, he knew where he wanted to do what he wanted to do. And all we did was to encourage him, give him the tools that he needed.
Yeah.
And because I see education as a route out of everything. And I'm not saying that for us where we were, yes, we were at the beginning of a council. I never lived in a council estate as such. So I never lived in a block. So all you have is and your kids come down. When at one time when we were renting and the landlord did whatever he did, and I did end up in one of those places because there's nothing for to do. We needed housing, and Stephen was in this block which we never had. He always had a garden and everything, and he kept looking out of the window. He wanted to go out and play. So this day I decided, okay, I'm going to take you down, and this is where you're going to be. Stay there, and you can stay there and play. And by the time I was up on the first floor up, so by the time I could have got back up and look out the window, I saw him going across the road. I don't know
where was he going?
He's a child. And I don't know how I got down those stairs so quick.
Yeah.
Because all I can see him, a car knocking him over or something. He's going onto the main road. He decided he's going to take a walk. And so, as I say, he's always had that confidence in himself. He's independent.
Yeah.
And as a baby, he cried a lot.
Yeah.
But the minute that he could do things for himself, that was it.
What does it mean to you, Stephen Lawrence Day, and how it has embraced the nation? What does it mean to you?
It means I'm quite humbled by it, because I just think that the effort that people have been putting into for us to achieve what I set out to achieve, because I could never, I have the dream of things happening. I have the dream, and how my foresight and looking forward of what it is I'd like to see happen.
Yeah.
But I need other people to help me to make it happen.
Sure.
And I think it's how everybody has stepped up, and selfishly, and want to support and want to. It's like they want to make Stephen proud. You could see it as that.
Stephen Lawrence Day, for me, I think it's been a part of my life for so long. But it's like only recently I said to myself, how young was I back in '93? And I was 9 years old now.
Oh gosh.
But because of how long it actually took, I believe, for any real justice to happen, it went through my whole childhood until I was actually early 20s.
Yeah.
So for me, a lot of the things that I went through, I don't think Mum understood.
Yeah. I think parents don't really see what children see.
Yeah.
Because I can remember as my kids were growing up, racial issue wasn't really a problem as such. And there's a couple of things may have happened at school that I need to go to school to talk about, where Stephen was being abused in some way.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that it was always in your face. I think it's more in your face now than what it was back in the 80s, 90s. You know, I don't in the early stage of the 90s. I don't really remember that. But
in Bermondsey, where I kind of was to be honest with you, where I grew up. Because I remember, I feel like the first interaction I had with police was when I went to play a football match in Bermondsey, and police stopped us with some older kids as well, and they were like, "What are you guys doing on this side of Southwark, basically?"
Right.
Meaning that you wasn't welcome. So that was a shock to me, because I think I was only about 12, and I was like, "What do they mean, like, what's going on here?"
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
For me, they were like protect and serve. That's how I saw it. Like at them age, I think at that age, I still had dreams of being a police officer.
Oh, did you?
You know what I mean? Or things like that, because of just watching things like Police Academy Cop. And things like that. So,
but it's funny thing. I mean, I remember I used to read a lot of things in the newspaper around black kids being stopped and thrown back to police van. And that's one of the things I spoke to, especially Stephen, because he was somebody who was always, he became independent at such a young age that we, you know, let him go. Because by the time he was 10, he was getting on a bus to go down to Woolwich, because that's the area in which that we lived in. And so I used to say to him, you know, when you're walking on the street, walk on the opposite side of the vehicle coming towards you. You know, you need to be careful when you're out. And he was like, well, Mum, I'm not doing anything, so, you know, why should I be anything happening? You know, I'm not doing anything. So, you know, and, you know, I think what it is for me when Stephen died, you know, is like, I want to say, I told you so, these are the things that can happen, but you can't, because he's no longer there. And so all the fear that you have for them growing up, you know, I just, it was.
I've become a parent myself now. My oldest son is 13 and he's my oldest born. And I have that because I was so free, like you said, at 10. When I went to secondary school at 11, I was taking a bus from one borough to another borough. So, and that was just normal. But now, I don't know, I think maybe with media and the amount of coverage that we see, I've become more fearful. But also growing up, I think this is one of the reasons I started Resole, was that growing up, I remember a lot of people getting robbed for their trainers. I remember going back to school after like the 6 weeks holiday, and the kids that got bullied for not having the new trainers and stuff like that. And there was a lot of peer pressure. And then also I remember a lot of the kids where I grew up started selling drugs just because mum couldn't afford the £120 trainers. And she's got like 4 children, got 4 siblings. We're talking about the best part of £600 if they all want the same pair of trainers. And they couldn't do it. But the local big boy drug dealers, whatever you want to call them on the block, they will tell you, hold this and I'll give you £200. So it became an easy for people to get money. What are we doing for also the community that we're not? We're good at sending money back home. What do we do here to make an impact? So that's when Resole came to me, and I just thought, like, the only thing that I knew I had a lot of that I could make an impact immediately to what I could see was, for me, was homelessness. That was because a lot of the time when I went to Africa, people say, "Are people poor in England? Are you sure?" Like, there's no poor people in England. Doing small things like that for us just makes it worth it, because sometimes it is difficult. It is, sometimes people see our growth and our transition and they think, "Oh, I can do that."
Yeah, it's easy.
It's not.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy.
You guys are heading up, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. All right,
Okay.
see you later.
All
Right, let's go for our walk. I feel really privileged for you to come down today. But beyond that, just want to say thank you for partnering up with us. It means a lot to me. I joined here 2 years ago this week, actually. So it's my 2-year anniversary here as a general manager. And I remember Brixton. I remember coming here with my mum, aged 6, 7, dragging her trolley. And the day I told her that I was, I'd been appointed as general manager was the day. I mean, she'd always wanted me to be a nurse, by the way.
Families always want more for their children.
Exactly. But she took a sense of pride in knowing that, a scheme that she used to walk me through, I'm now running. So there's a sense of pride in that. So over my 2 years, it's been my mission to just do more meaningful work.
Okay.
There's one thing, being a general manager and making sure the tenants are well behaved and our risk assessments are in check. But it's just more important for us to have brands like Resole and collaborations with, foundations like yourself. So yes, I'm really, really pleased that we've got this exhibition here.
Yes,
I'm really, really pleased to have it here.
I hope that this is the start of a true partnership. Taylor will be able to talk through some of the potential Pope's Road work, I think in more detail, because I think that there are some of the work that you'd already historically done could marry up well with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we've got an amazing development that designed by David Adjaye, and we've been figuring out ways that we can really make sure that what gets built here in Brixton is for the benefit of the people in Brixton. And I think, as such a great role model as David Adjaye, I think we wanted to come up with a way to try to make that a kind of a career path that is open to everyone, and specifically trying to train the next generation of Black architects, and so that it's not just something that exists outside of the Brixton community, but that it is here and it is for the people here. And it sounds like you've worked with in these architecture and education before, and so I thought there could be great ways to work together.
Yeah, I was going to say the whole thing sounds really good, and I think because it's in the heart of the community, which is really part of what I see the foundation as we work going to the future. Because we know we've talked about that we're having the 3 C's, which you start within education, then you've got the community, and then you've got the careers. So what you were talking about having with David, that sort of really fits into the foundation. What is it that we're trying to do? Because I think for me, it's always been education first. Because I think without having that background behind you, it's very difficult. And then within your community, so it's not just in schools, so outside the school gate, as somebody used to say to me about it. So the young people, they're in school, but they're going out into their community, and that relationship, how do they want the community to be? How they, as they grow up, what the building looks like. And I think a lot of kids, before I knew anything about architecture, you tend to just walk. You don't notice the building around you, don't look up, you don't see. I remember when I was doing my degree, one of our lecturers used to say, talks about it's the Peabody building, because how it shapes, it's on a corner of a street. And now when I go out, I look for that.
Okay.
I do, and I see them.
Yeah.
Because of how she described what it is. Because I presume during the Industrial Revolution, as people move away from out in the country and come into towns, the building that needs to be built for them. And so you begin to get a lot more about how to design a building. So for over the years, I didn't understand around architecture. I didn't understand what students need. I worked in a university, and I used to hear my colleagues say about the architectural students, how expensive it is for them because of the materials that they need to buy. So that sort of gave me a little bit of grounding. So, and then talking to the students themselves, and as they go through, their part 1, you're just thinking, okay, part 1, part 2, part 3, what do you mean by that? And so they're beginning to explain to me. So over these, I've learned so much about, because sometimes they do their first degree, they take a couple of years out, and then come back to it again. But the placement is always a problem for Black kids, because they don't come from the background as their white counterparts, so they don't have those issues, those things. So for Black students, it's always been very difficult. So it's building those relationships over the years that I have done with different practices, that I can go and say, we've got students here, placement. and and a lot of time they do take them on.
Yeah.
But that's what our Black Kids students suffers with.
When we talk about foundation, that's the base level of how you can build anything. So to have a foundation that is grassroots and is aware of what's going on in terms of culture and society and education and the community, it's pleasing for me to witness and know that the foundation is going to keep its grassroots element whilst working alongside what Resole have to give back to the community, and what Adidas want to build a relationship with the foundation as well. It's pleasing for me to see it. So for you, I'm hoping that you feel the same.
Well, definitely. I think, as I say, as I was walking through this morning, and because it was very quiet, but people are just busy trying to set up their store and do the things that they need to do, and they're doing it because it's something, as I say, it's energy that they have, and they want to be here. It's not that they're forced to be here. And having Resole where they are is like they're in a, because if you see it's like a, how it's set up, you can go that, we can go, but they're sort of centered within that place. So it's bringing everybody together and working with Adidas in a way in which they are. You can see what it is that Moss is trying to do.
Yes.
He's not doing it for himself. He's doing it where he can help. Because when you see young people out, I think I was, when you sort of travel through London, the kids, young people are out. One of me want to go and say to them, have you tried to go and speak to your parents? Have you tried this? But because how society is, it's very difficult for you to do that now. And so the grassroots, I think that's where, if you look at the likes of Bernie Grant and people like that, who was always, that's where they started from, and they continue to be there because they know the importance of what it is that you can do to support your fellow man to bring up. And there's a like a statue somewhere that as you're climbing the ladder, you've got to put your hand behind and pull the other person up with you.
Lift as you climb.
And I just think that's what I see the foundation be able to do, is to be able to help our young people to become whatever they choose to be, and without people like the grassroots people. And that's what society's built on, the grassroots. Because you don't have the big government come in. The government is not giving him trainers to give off to nurses. The government's not doing that.
It's coming from these individuals.
It's coming from these individuals. And then you have a big company like Adidas saying, what can I do to give back? And I think that's what we always want to do, is give back.
It's amazing. So thank you to Adidas.
A big thank you to Adidas, and the fact that they used to take us on to support the foundation. You talk about loads of stuff, but it takes somebody like Adidas to say, okay, this is what I can do to help you, and they're giving something back within the community. So the foundation is very grateful.
And for Resole as well, a massive thank you to them.
Seeing how what Resole is doing and talking to Mas, is really good to hear where he was coming from and how he decided to what he's doing. And I think it's just being here today. As I said, Brixton is not somewhere that I visit, because I think where I live over in the southeast there, I remember saying, I want to come down, I want to be able to shop down here. But because Lewisham has always been a place where I've always been, and Greenwich, so Brixton is so. But seeing here today, I'm walking around, this is the place I definitely want to come back to. I want to spend more time. I'd like to thank WPP, especially Karen Blackett, for the support that she's given, and it's been fantastic. I think the fact that we've had so many people engaging in the short film, celebrating Stephen's life and marking what the foundation is doing. So it's a big thank you go out to you, and to all those other people behind the scenes who you don't always see or hear about them. So for me, I'm very grateful and very honoured that you're able to help me. Thank you.